Now we move on to the third element of this model, which is about leadership. I have something to share with you here. There have been a lot of perspectives and books and a lot of knowledge bank on the leadership, and I wanted to today share with you, not to get confused with all of that. It's good to know that there could be types of leadership. It could be autocratic or it could be participative, consultative. But tell me something. Just think about this. Can anybody have any leadership style which does not in effect improve the employee performance, employee engagement, and the employee will and motivation to perform? Can we do that? No. So how can we have any other leadership style other than an inclusive combination of participative and consultative kind of a style? It just can't be. It has to be that. It has to be an inclusive style, embracing diversity. And a few other sub-elements of that we're going to talk about. So it has to be that. It's not that, don't go by these kind of, the management pundits are told that leadership is a matter of choice. That's something I totally refute. I really debate on that. I've debated with quite a few people on this, but just tell me, can anybody, a leader who's a CEO or a business leader or one of those CXOs, can he afford in real terms to behave other than a leader, as a manager, as a supervisor, not taking care of people? It's just not possible, because leaders are supposed to influence and inspire people towards mission directed action, or your annual action plans or your charters. If you're not doing it, how could you be a CEO? Inversely, a CEO is a leadership position, is supposed to be a leader, or any other CXO. So they have to take and carry people along. How are they going to do with any other style other than winning the hearts, giving them the trust and the confidence by way of your credibility, by way of the way you walk the talk, and the way you communicate, and the way you have won their hearts? Only then will they really get influenced and inspired. And that's where the discretionary behaviors, we're talking about 122%, the maximum that people can perform if they're highly engaged. Only then, that I'm not saying do this and straight away you get into 122, but from 30 you have to get into the next big orbit, which is about 50-60% at least, or even more. Yeah. Other than the aspect of inclusion, one very, very significant aspect that I would like to share with you, and I would want you to consider this very seriously, which is respect. These are the kind of words that are there in every document, every code of conduct, that we should respect everywhere, and it's there in the Constitution and where not, and it's there at so many places that we really ignore that. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the core premise for my entire model, because respect is a very basic thing. Once you respect everybody across the hierarchies, across levels, across the academics and the experience that each one of the member in an organization has, everybody needs to be respected. All right. So we see, especially in family-driven companies and SMEs, we find leaders really going after a little lower rated employees, mid-level employees, all those the assistants and executives and even operators and all of them, really going after them. You have to just respect, you're going to demonstrate the culture that you have, how cultured you are in terms of your behavior. And nobody has a right, no leader, no CEO has a right to hurt the self-esteem of another individual. So you've got to respect everyone. And mind you, remember this, that all of them across their social or financial backgrounds, they are coming to join hands with you to help you deliver your mission, to accomplish your mission. So how can you actually disrespect them? The fundamental thing in getting along people, winning their hearts and getting them engaged and making them inspire to perform at a discretionary level means a lot. That's not going to be easy. And if they are not respected at all, how would they confide and how would they stretch? How would they stretch to the extent of 122%? That becomes incongruous. It's just not possible. So the fundamental thing is that there needs to be a mutual trust. And to build mutual trust, mutual respect is a very fundamental thing. So if there's no respect, don't expect trust. So what you're gonna have is just the limbs and the eyes or the hands and legs kind of moving at a workplace, and they would be through the shift hours, the day, and then they would leave at a very low level of productivity. So respect is a must. So just whether you're a CEO or whatever you are, just treat every other individual like a soul. Don't look at them by the designation and have a very low impression about them, and then don't assume that they are at your mercy. Not because of a designation, not because of the social or financial background or the power or their expertise or whatever. They are part of your mission. So just respect them. Because if you don't respect one person, remember this, the rest of the workforce would look at it as an example and say, hey, this guy is not the guy we should stretch. Let's just do a day's work and move out. So that's very critical. Yeah. So now the third important aspect of leadership is people connect. Just have that emotional rapport with each and every employee. Great CEOs are those, people who admire the CEOs are those who know everybody in the organization by names. I mean, if you have your workforce into thousands, it could be a little difficult. But at least the stars, you'll have to, the hypos and the stars, you have to, remember the names. And if you're in a mid-sized organization, definitely, the endeavor is to know them. But it's not just about knowing them, but having a personal, emotional connect with them. And when we talk about a few dimensions of culture, we'll get more into that. The fourth aspect of leadership is about having the passion for outcomes and the right behaviors. This is very essential. You got to demonstrate that, by constant communication with people across levels, and as frequently as possible. Just communicate, what's happening in the organization, what are your strategies and how they're working, what are the things that are not so working, so that people pull up their socks to address those kind of issues and focus areas which are not, on top of the performance list, so that we can enhance the effectiveness of those areas as well. And the other thing is the behaviors. Behaviors are also important. We have these kind of values and desired behaviors and those kind of codes in every organization. But what's important is that leaders have to really take this with zero tolerance. I mean, if somebody, even one individual is not respecting, one team leader is not respecting, and he has misbehaved with one of his team member for whatsoever reason, he doesn't have to misbehave, he doesn't have to disrespect or hurt the self-esteem of that individual, he doesn't have to do that. And you have one instance Leaders should not do that, but if somebody else is doing, then you got to intervene and make sure that this is something that the organization will not tolerate. This has to be demonstrated, that everybody has to be respected, and the right behaviors are the ones that are going to be appreciated, and the wrong ones are not going to be tolerated in any case. It also, wherever outcomes are not happening, your passion should also go and drive and focus on that particular area. What are the things that are not happening? What is the team that's confronting some issues? It's not to go and pull them up, but to reinforce support and give them some alternative means and methods to address that particular area of challenge, and then get through it and accomplish and achieve the goals. Leaders are not just to sit in their office cabins, nice luxury cozy cabins, and now you have mobiles, so you're so much engaged with your mails and mobiles and Google searches and whatever, but you got to move around, and you got to go interact with people and communicate, and as far as possible in whatever focus group discussions and work groups or the larger workforce of a unit, and keep communicating them and constantly communicate. That's very critical for a leader. So with this, we move on to the next dimension, the fourth dimension, which is about cultural excellence. All right. Cultural excellence, if you see in the model, it's the fourth dimension. And the first aspect is self-disciplined. Everybody, the team leaders across CEOs to team leaders to every member of the organization have to be self-disciplined. If somebody is actually crossing the line somewhere, he needs to be counseled properly, say that this is not done in this organization, in our organization. And keep counseling and advising them, giving them the wisdom and all of that, and guide them that they are always self-disciplined. And because in this model we are not looking at having micromanagement and all of that. Next aspects of this particular model, we'll be talking about things like self-directed teams and all of that. We'll come to that, but self-discipline is what everybody is expected to be in organizations, and that's something that HR and every team leader needs to inculcate that. Okay, so the next aspect of cultural excellence is customer first. And what is it in the culture? Because we already talked about it in the value core one, that was one of the core values, right? So why I say is that in organizations, most organizations, we would have the CEO or the CXOs engaging with the customers directly. That perspective needs to be modified. That needs to be taken with a pinch of salt and critically reviewed, because that way organizations cannot grow if CEOs have to directly engage the customer. In fact, the people, the CEOs leaders have to take care of the people, and people in fact should be emotionally engaged with the customer, to engage and have those frequent weekly kind of rosebud thorn meetings. If something is going good, it's a rose, and if it's a bud, okay, it's a potential opportunity, and thorns are a potential opportunity for improvement as well, because those perhaps are challenge areas. So you got to review which is a rose, which is a bud, and which is a thorn, and periodically, and you're doing it straight with the look at that the scenario where your shop floor teams, the smallest of the crews, are going to be aware. They're going to interact with the customers wherever needed, or they're going to be backseated while their leaders are going to interact, and they will directly have a feel of how the customer pulses about that, and what is his perception and what is his expectation, and if we are meeting or surpassing or we are falling short, so how are we doing in each of those aspects. And that way it's going to be a very customer centric organization. This is the way customer centric organizations. So I was talking about self-directed teams. So people, if all your talent force is engaged and understanding the perspectives of the customer and the pulse of the customer, it's going to, you CEOs have to just be focused on growth, because the rest of your workforce and talent is going to take care of the day-to-day operations, on the back end. The third aspect of cultural excellence is about everybody being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is an employee who considers himself as an entrepreneur himself, because that's the way ownership is going to kick in. Yeah, so every employee should consider himself to be a owner. If there is a challenge, if a deadline is coming close, this guy should be more worried than the CEO, and the CEO should be trusting him. So if you are customer focused, if every employee in the organization, every associate and member in the organization feels like he's also an owner or an entrepreneur, then the CEOs can spend most of the time at the golf course, right? Yeah. So this is about entrepreneur. Everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. We got to do all that enabling measures and practices to make sure that every employee feels so. It could mean a lot of communication, a lot of trainings and changing of mindsets. The greatest enabler of this model to succeed, and we are talking about an objective of really skyrocketing the employee engagement index in every organization, and to alleviate the pains and the stress levels of a CEO by this model. So what is key? What is the key element here in culture is it has to be a highly trusting kind of ecosystem that we have to build in. Yeah, only then the CEO can spend time also in the golf course. I'm not saying the old days he should just have fun and golf course, but he should have his due. Otherwise, most of you must be aware about the CEOs who kind of spend also the weekends on calls and mails and reviews, and not spending quality time with the family, and the family feeling disgruntled about it. We don't want that to happen. Everybody should have a great life. So which is why if there is trust across levels, when I say that the CEO I can go to a golf course and spend a few hours there and come back, and if the middle management and the top management feels that they can run the show, because everybody here is an entrepreneur and they're customer focused, and the other aspects will come to that. So, and every employee at the lowest level feels that this is becoming a great experience here. I've had a great experience through the years or months, and then I look forward to having some great time here, growing and developing, and getting good rewards and recognition opportunities. I don't have to look outside. If this kind of ecosystem is developed, this kind of a synergy and ecosystem, you got an ultimate kind of a setup. This is going to be an ultimate mechanism to take the company to the next level and the next level, not bothering about your delivery capability, because that's going to grow incrementally, and that could be capabilities could be augmented because you have a fundamental things in place. Yeah. So the next aspect of building trust, like I told you, of course, respect. I've already spoken enough, but there's one other thing I want to add here is that the quality kind of drives that happen in the organization, and when there are audits, some seasoned auditors, what they do is they go to the blue collared workers' toilets, and they see how cleanly and tidily they are maintained. And if they are not, it gives a reflection. It only reflects that in this organization the blue collared guys are not so much cared. So if the blue collared ones are not cared so much, then which also means that the white collared ones are, they are also not so important, because if they can look at one group of people in a certain way, it could happen with the others. So if you really respect people across levels, your entire workforce, as your partners in your progress, then you got to really demonstrate that in extending them a great experience at the workplace, an exemplary experience, and what more important than restrooms? That's a great indicator. And of course, the rest of the things as well. And these days, with the pandemics and all of that, so you got to make every employee's perception that this is a safe place, is better than home. So the point is that you got to really win, the hearts and minds of people, to make them believe that my workplace is my second home, at least, if not a first home. If you can make it as a first home, there's nothing like it. Yeah. So one other thing besides respect is that I'm not saying at the start of a day you should go and you should salute people and the seniors and just wish everyone. What is required is have that bonhomie, have that warmth at the workplace as you begin a day. Greet and cheer and exchange pleasantries with people. Just talk to them, connect them on the personal note. How they spent the previous day, what happened, what challenges or great things they did the previous day, and per family, and stay connected there. Have that social network very active, and with bonhomie, then you can have, if you have bonhomie and if you're amiable and friendly with people and you're cheerful at workplace, then camaraderie comes in, it kicks in. If you want team spirits and the team magic, all of that happening in, you need to have that bonhomie at workplace. Okay, so bonhomie is important. Camaraderie is, of course, teamwork and collaboration between functions. So that's equally important. Then the next big thing of this particular aspect is compassion, having compassion. Everybody, that leaders, CEOs, team leaders, team members, everybody should be compassionate with the other. Okay, and definitely this is not a matter of choice, because I have coming across a lot of those webinars and elsewhere that somebody said it should be an empathetic leadership. Compassion is a step beyond. When you get into action, you don't have to just feel that empathy or sympathy or whatever in terms of feelings and not do anything. But you have to do something about it. Somebody is in pain or in a trauma or in some difficulty or having a very serious grievance. We should go help him. And the team leaders and leaders have to be respecting and taking care of them and demonstrating compassion. So compassion at every level. So HR and other leaders, wherever they find somewhere that there has been a very, very genuine case and instance where somebody was in distress. So did somebody reach out who was supposed to or was very close to or could have possibly done, but has not? Then again, no tolerance. Pull him up. We are supposed to do that. That's a culture. That's the way we work here. You got to tell that. Yeah. So after compassion, it's about autonomy and empowerment. What's important, and one aspect of this model is that talent has to be in work groups that are homogeneously skilled. Have in a work group people who are with more or less the same level of skills. A little variance is okay, but you can't have north and south. You can't have You can't have a huge range of variance in the skill level within a team, because the team leader is gonna go crazy there, because he has to deal with people with lower skills a little differently, and ones with higher skill differently, because the ones with higher skill he can empower and delegate and all of that, but he can't do so much, and he has to focus on them, and the productivity and the quality issues would come because of lowly skilled people. So you at whichever level you are, whether you're CX or whatever, just remember to hire the best talent possible, because compromising on the cost and all of that, and assuming that things will get done eventually, it's not right, because there's going to be this back and forth thing, quality errors, and then it comes back and again goes forward, and then there's something else. Don't compromise on that, and have homogeneously skilled work groups. That becomes easy for the team leader. Okay, so one other thing is that let us not have your nomenclatures as leaders and managers and team leaders are different species. They are not different species. Anybody who leads a team, whether it's 2 or 3 members or 30 or 300 members or 3,000 members, he is a leader, and he has to demonstrate and do all the things that we're talking about in every aspect, whether as a leader, as a strategist, or at an execution level, and in terms of culture and everything that we're talking about. This applies to the smallest of a team leader in an organization. All right, so autonomy is a must. And remember, we are talking about the CEO being at the golf course. So nothing would happen if no autonomy is given to people. For that, people have to be that much competent, and your processes also have to be that matured and well optimized and robust. So process optimization, precedes all of these things, and we assume that processes are already matured, and we have that focus on continual process improvement and all of that. So that's the assumption and the premise that we are going forward with. Okay, so the next aspect of cultural excellence is about being fair and equitable. The way you deal with people, you can't have a biased approach or selective approach in terms of the region or whatever bias or prejudice. No prejudice, no bias, just apply the same law everywhere, the same practice, and if the precedents are not so great, if they don't stand to logic, or your philosophy or your ideology of being compassionate with people, take it up as the next policy or a procedure to review and modify that. So everything should be in adherence to the policies and beliefs and the ideologies that are already laid down. The other aspect is about having openness and transparency as ethos of your culture. All right, so openness and transparency are the key, because if you want to have a very trusting culture, these two are quite essential elements. So openness, transparent, autonomy. One other thing here is about being accountable for the results and behaviors. There needs to be a high level of accountability. When I said it's mutual respect, I just didn't mean that the leaders should respect every employee and the employees would enjoy that. When I said mutual, what I meant is that while leaders will respect you for what you are, whatever you are, it is your bounden duty to deliver whatever the expectations are, laid upon you. So expectations have to be met, and you have to be accountable for the results and the right behaviors or the wrong behaviors that you make. So everybody has to be accountable. We talk about this in a lot of organizations, but nobody really demonstrates that in action. They say, okay, let's not create any ill will. Actually, by tolerating such deviations, we are sending wrong signals and messages to the rest of the organization saying that these are just in the book, and then we can just, we are at will to do whatever we wish to. Yeah. So, one other thing is about having a culture of extending the best of the best experiences to your employees. Uh, some CXOs in a lot of organizations would like to look at this employee experience as a cost perspective. Don't look at this, look at the value perspective. Because we are talking about ultimately having, these teams and the entire talent force to deliver, multiple times of what they've been doing now. We want them to be engaged from anything of 25% to, if not 100%, at least 60, 70 or 75%. What we are saying is threefold multiplier, and cutting down a penny or a rupee or whatever in terms of compromising on the quality of experience that employees should have. It should be as if the CXOs try to find out what is the best experience my competitors are giving. Let me give a little over that, and whatever else is possible. And if you think that there's something very innovative that's going to really motivate employees, then you have to do it. I mean, leaders should be doing it proactively. So, besides accountability for results and the right behaviors, what is important is organizations across level, at a unit level, at a corporate level, across levels, even at a work group level, the performance needs to be reviewed in a rhythmic manner. If you're going to have weekly reviews or fortnightly or monthly or all of them, and then quarterly, whatever, have them as frequently as possible and have that rigor and rhythm. Don't just do it because we have to do it. Don't just skip one, assuming that okay, next time there's not much change happening, but let's go there, because a lot of ideation would come from the grassroots. Perhaps we got to take it. So this has to be, meticulously and without any deviation, without any variance. Have those review meetings of performance, in a rhythmic and rigorous manner. One of the significant aspect of culture is all of us contributing to building a culture of appreciation in the workplace. Be as generous as possible. Don't be frugal to appreciate the other person, and do it in a timely manner. But rewards or recognitions have to happen. Do that in a timely basis, but try to be objective. See that there is acceptance of whatever your decisions are in terms of recognizing the best or the right behaviors, because the right behaviors need to be recognized and appreciated, and the wrong behaviors, without disrespect, snubbed and reviewed critically. This is a must, because only then would your workforce be abiding to the framework and the expectations. Yeah, so build that culture of appreciation. The smallest thing, smallest act of value creation, or doing a great job, or solving problem on their own, or mixing some savings, or making the customer delighted, need to get appreciation and in a timely manner. So these are all the aspects of culture